Hello everybody, my name's Alicia Culp from Evolution Culture, and in this video we're going to be talking about questioning types and questioning techniques. Now you may ask why we have to cover something like questioning in a classroom. Well, one of the main purposes of questioning is to make sure we promote interactivity in the classroom. Every person on your course will have something to contribute to your course. We all learn from what we're covering in a course, but we actually learn from each other as well. So we want people to contribute, we want their involvement, we want interactivity, we want people to enjoy the course. So questioning is one of those areas where it will promote that interactivity, contribution, involvement, as well as, importantly, the learning of what you're trying to cover as a topic in your course. So those are some of the reasons why we look at questioning types and questioning techniques. In covering this particular video, these are the aims and objectives of what we're wanting to achieve. The aim of the module is to introduce you to the advantages of questioning, the different questioning techniques, to encourage interactivity and to consolidate the learning, to make sure that your participants actually have learned and enjoyed that experience at the same time. Specifically on the objectives, we've got list 6 question types, we've got list 5 of the questioning techniques, and you'll be able to give an example of each, list any advantages, disadvantages, and list the do's and don'ts when questioning. So those are the aims and objectives. So I mentioned some of the reasons why we ask questions, and let's look at some of the areas that we need to take into account when we are questioning our participants. One of the main areas that we have to look at is the open versus the closed questions. Closed questions are those where we have a yes or a no answer, or a true or a false. It doesn't actually encourage people to give you more information. So you need to use yes and no type questions or closed questions at times where you just want to state a fact. Have you understood, or have you switched on your laptop? It's a yes or a no. It's a fact that you're trying to get as an answer from your participants. So moving away from the closed questions, we then look at open questions. And this is where we look at there are 6 different question types. I'm sure you're aware of most of these questions. The first one is the who. So I'm just going to write that down as well. The who. If you ask a who question, you're asking who's attending the course, for example. The answer will be specific names of your participants, or it may be a role. It may be Bill or John or Sue. You have facts about who exactly is attending your course. Or it may be the purchasing assistant or the finance director. Or again, it gives you information about who is attending. So the who. The next one is the what. What is the course about? What is its contents? What are the objectives that we've just covered? It gives you lots of detail and information about the course, as an example. It's a great question, what? And think about what as you're asking questions of your participants. The next one is the why. So we'll just add that as a what and a why. Why are you attending this course? Why are you watching this video? It again gives you the ability to find out more from your participants about why. So think about why. What why questions are you going to ask your participants? And when you've asked a why question, there may be another why question, another why question, and you delve deeper and deeper into more detail so you have more information. Remember, questioning builds rapport, and if you get to know your participants better through questioning, you'll have a better experience as a trainer, and your participants will have a better experience in attending your course. So the why. The next one is the where. Where is your course taking place? Is it a physical location? Is it in a meeting room, in a training conference centre? Is it online even? Where is your course taking place? Again, it gives you detail. Again, it gives you more information. And the last one is the when. When is your course taking place? That's very specific. It gives you, the answer will give you direct detail of when the course is taking place. So when? So we've got 5 W's. The last one, you may recall that I mentioned earlier, there are 6 question types. And the last one, in fact, is the how. The how. How is your training going to be delivered? Is it going to be online? Is it going to be a classroom session? A physical location with your participants? The how. Lots of questions where you can actually start with a how. When we talk about the how, it also talks about how many, how much. How much is your course going to cost? How many people are you going to have on your course? So the how question. Now, when we look at this, we can actually also refer to 5 bums on a rugby post. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the game of rugby, but we have a post where they have to actually convert, and we've got 5 people, 5 bums on a rugby post. So hopefully that will enable you to remember the 6 question types. When you have this interactivity through the question types, you're going to have a trainer who's happy, and you're also going to have delegates or participants who are going to be happy as well. And in fact, when you talk and you discuss things and you question your participants, you're actually creating lots of teamwork between the two, because it is a dialogue, it is a discussion between the trainer, participants, and vice versa. So those are the question types. Now we're going to move on to the question techniques. As you can see, there are 5 question techniques, and we're going to be discussing each one in turn. So, moving on, we have the overhead. As you can see, it's got the trainer who asks the whole group a question. So when he's asking the question, he's looking round and he's trying to make eye contact with each of his participants. It's an overhead. Now, very often you will find with an overhead, perhaps one person speaks, perhaps 2 people. You'll soon get to find out who likes to contribute, who's got the confidence, who may have the answer. So an overhead question could be, what is your experience of this particular module or this topic? And it may be that some people don't have that experience, the other people do. So it's those people who have the experience that will talk, that will actually contribute to that overhead question. It may be that some people, even though they've got the experience, they're quiet, they're shy, they don't like to speak out. So again, this starts to build rapport with your participants. You get to know them and they get to know you. Now, very often with an overhead question, it can be used to start a discussion. One person starts, then another person contributes, and another person. And again, you're getting interaction from a number of people. It's a great way to assess people as well. to assess their knowledge, their experience in the way they're answering. And again, you'll be making a mental note of the contribution they're making. Don't use it too much, because if you use it too much, you will find it's the same person that responds. And the other people, well, maybe they'll switch off. Maybe they'll just work independently. So don't overuse the overhead questioning technique. The next one is the PPP. That stands for pose, pause, and pounce. So the trainer asks a question, involves everybody in the group, and again, it's a little bit like the overhead, but then they pounce on a person and ask that question. So again, it could be an extension of overhead. It could be that you find certain people don't answer when they're using the overhead, but then you pounce on the person who may not have been contributed. And that way, first of all, you are involving everybody in the course, but then you're also involving the person that may not always contribute to the course. And they may have something to say, but they just need a little bit of encouragement. So again, you could use that a number of times. Overhead and pounce, overhead and pounce. Okay, and again, you're bringing everybody into the experience of that question. It encourages participation and it gets the group together. So, an example of a question: what styles of delivery does your organisation use? So would it be e-learning? Would it be classroom? Jill hasn't responded before. And again, it allows people to think and then they're able to contribute. So pose, pause and pounce. The third questioning technique is called the relay. And as it states here, you as the trainer ask a participant a question, they respond back, then the same question is asked of the trainer to another participant. They give their answer. Again, it's a great way of finding out things about your participants. It's the same question, but every single person will have a different response. And actually, it's not only interesting to you, it's interesting for the group. See what experience people have had. See what sort of skills they have, where they work, what they do. Everybody has something to contribute. So again, it's a great way of seeing the variety of responses from people when you're asking exactly the same question. So that's the relay. I would ask something like, have you had any experience of challenging behaviours in a classroom, for example? Some people may say no, they haven't had that experience in the past, thankfully. But I'm sure many of the participants will have either been subjected to other participants' behaviours or even as a trainer to actually deal with a challenging behaviour. So again, you're sharing that experience. So you're asking different people to share those experiences. That's the relay. The next one is the reflect. So this is where a participant asks the trainer a question. Remember, questioning's two-way, and this is what we have to, as trainers, we have to encourage the participants to do. So the participant asks the trainer a question, then the trainer reflects to other participants in the course as to what the answer is. And actually the trainer thinks, well, maybe we've covered that topic already, and maybe somebody in the class has remembered what the answer is. So he then reflects that question to other people. A question's been asked, actually, Sue, can you remember how we dealt with that situation in the past? And that participant may answer. So we're getting the participants to answer those questions for us. It's a great way of involving people. Remember, a trainer doesn't always tell. If others can tell you, you know you've done your job and you're sharing that experience, and it's great for them to be able to answer other participants' questions. Another example of where the reflect can be used is perhaps somebody's asked you a question about the organisation, about the policies of the organisation, about the processes, and you may, as a consultant, as an external trainer, for example, you may not know those answers. Even as an internal person, you may not know. You're not expected to know everything about the organisation, but you know an expert who's sitting in the course who does, and you ask them. So somebody asks you the question, well, actually, Steve, can you comment on that, because I'm not quite sure. It's not a problem that you as a trainer doesn't know, but Steve, he can actually respond and he can inform the people. Coming on to questions where maybe you don't know the answer. That's not a crime. If you don't know the answer, note it down and come back. Follow up and report back to your participants. The crime is if you don't. We won't know everything to all the answers to every question, but if we find out for the next session, then we will know and we will build our experience accordingly. So don't forget, not knowing is not a crime. Not dealing with it and reporting back is. So that's the reflect. The last one is the reverse. As you can see here, again, the participant has asked the question of the trainer, and then the trainer changes the question and asks a different type of question to give the context, a different context, and then the participant would respond. And the area where you would use this, or the context, is when that participant should really know the answer to his question. He may not know it, he may not realise it, it may be in a different context that he's asking the question. So you change it in such a way where he answers the question for himself. An example, the participant asks, actually, where do we actually put the telephone number on a customer record, for example? We're talking about a customer database. Where do we put the telephone number? And my question would be, well, where do we put the address? So again, so he would think back to where we put the address of the customer. Right, we clicked on that and we clicked on that and we went there. Obviously that's referring to a systems training, application training. But we're getting the participant to answer his own question. And again, it's great to see people seeing, right, it's there's a light switched on and they've actually remembered where it is. And that's, again, that proves that you're doing your job, that they are learning, they're remembering. Remember, repetition, reminding, consolidation of learning. Okay, so that's the reverse question. So that's the questioning techniques. So just to recap, we have the questioning types. Remember, keep those questions open and use this as much as possible to get the information from your participants. Then we looked at the questioning techniques. We've got the overhead as a general, getting to know your participants. We've got the pose, pause, pounce questioning technique, where again you're using the overhead and you're pouncing. We've got the relay. Think of a relay team. You're asking the same question to a number of people. We've got the reflect. We reflect the question to other people in the course. And then finally we've got the reverse, where we're getting the participant to answer his or her own question. That's it. So that's questioning techniques. Thanks for listening. If you've got any queries, do contact us on info@evolutionculture.com. evolutionculture.co.uk. See you again soon. Thanks.